into this, last summer when I signed here, and me and Coach Kidd, our conversation was that if I was to come here when I got here, I was gonna have to work for everything that I got. And I mean, I told Coach Kidd that's not something that's gonna be, like it's gonna bring me down, because I mean, like you said, I was undrafted. I went into situations where I wasn't supposed to be on the roster or playing, and I fought my way into a roster spot, and I fought my way into rotation, and I'm gonna keep fighting till the day I die. It's just who I am. I always fight, and I never give up.
So what's the mindset in the locker room right now, up 3-2?
Just get it done. Go home and finish it. We're not trying to play around. We know that they're a great team, so just gotta go out there and finish the game. It is what it is. Let's finish it.
Welcome to Inside the Mavs, presented by Aura. My name is Kevin Gray, Mavericks Pre and Post Game host on the Dallas Mavericks Radio Network. Appreciate you joining me here on Inside the Mavs on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to like and comment on the video and subscribe to Inside the Mavs. You can also find us Inside the Mavs on Twitter at Inside the Mavs. The Mavericks crushed the Los Angeles Clippers by 30, 123-93, thanks in part to what you heard from Derrick Jones Jr. His defense was absolutely terrific. He has double digits for the fourth straight game in this first round series against the Clippers. Luka Doncic with 35 points in the game, dealing with a sprained right knee and illness, as he was able to help the Mavericks be able to take a 3-2 series lead as they get ready to take on the Clippers on Friday night in a closeout game at the American Airlines Center. The Dallas Mavericks were fantastic on the defensive end, holding the Clippers to just 9 of 35 from downtown, just a shade under 26% from three. The Mavericks themselves shot 54% from the field, 68.8% on their 2-point field goals, and shot 14 of 39 from three, nearly 36% from downtown, as the Mavericks were able to get after the Clippers early and often, able to take a 1-point lead going into the second quarter, where they were able to blow things open thanks to Maxi Kleber, who was absolutely sensational. He finished the game with 15 points, 12 of which came in a huge second quarter where he knocked down 4 corner three-pointers, 2 on the left side and 2 on the right side, energizing the Mavericks bench and staking them to a 10-point lead going into halftime. And the defense for the Mavericks continues to be the story in this series for the third time so far in the first 5 games of this series. The Mavericks hold the Los Angeles Clippers to under 100 points, holding them, of course, to 93 in Game 5. The Mavericks playing their best offensive game so far in the first 5 games of the series with 123 points that they scored. And Kyrie Irving's defense on James Harden continues to be fantastic, as the Mavericks held Paul George and James Harden to a combined 6 of 25 from the field in just 22 points. They couldn't get anything going offensively thanks to the incredible length and athleticism of the Mavericks defense, especially Derrick Jones Jr., who had a couple of blocked three-pointers in the first quarter, one on Paul George and another one on James Harden. And as he's talked about, and as this entire team has talked about, the goal is to run them off the three-point line, guard the three, where the Clippers, of course, came into this series the 6th best shooting team in the NBA from the three-point line, shooting over 38% from three during the regular season. Paul George was 5th in the NBA this season, making 243 three-pointers. But the Mavericks did the job guarding the three, holding them to just a shade under 26% from downtown. And it was the Mavericks defense that continued to give the Clippers problems in game number 5. And for the Mavericks now, they get the chance to come home with all the momentum on their side, with an opportunity to close out the Clippers in 6 games. And if they're able to do so, buy themselves some rest before they take on the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference semifinals. Regardless of how the series ends, whether it ends on Friday in Dallas or with the Mavericks winning in Game 7 on Sunday, they would begin their Western Conference semifinal round on Tuesday on the road in Oklahoma City. So if the Mavericks want to get this done, it is paramount that they get it done now, because they'll give their superstar Luka Doncic an opportunity to rest after what was a historic and heroic performance in game number 5. More on Luka Doncic specifically and what he is dealing with and how he was able to overcome it, as he was able to help this Mavericks team take a 3-2 series lead. But before we get there, let's hear from today's sponsor of our video, and let's hear from Aura. Today's video is brought to you by Aura. Do a Google search on your name and email address to see how much information comes up about you. I was devastated by the amount of information that I could be seeing searching my name and profile, and I knew then I needed to be protected for not just myself, but also for my family. Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, your relatives, it's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it protects me from hackers who could use this information to help them access my social media accounts, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats that I can't see. It's really easy to set up, so I don't have to download several different apps to get things like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more. I get everything at one affordable price. You may already have one of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. Aura is always on, doing the hard work to protect me and my family so I can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to aura.com/Kevin Gray to start your 2-week free trial. Please see the link in the description. Back here on Inside the Mavs. Thank you for hanging out with us through that spot, and thank you to today's sponsor of our video in Aura, as the Mavericks get 35 points from Luka Doncic as he shot an efficient near 54% from the field. As Dončić, who had said prior to Game 5, is dealing with a knee injury that if it were happening during the regular season, he wouldn't be playing. On top of that, being sick nearly for the last week, Luka Doncic, you could hear in the postgame, dealing with the sniffles, but also with the pain of that leg injury, and he is continuing to play through it. He had a triple-double in Game 4, albeit in the loss where he had the 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, but he got back to Luka Doncic's ability to get into the mid-range, knock down the mid-range jumper, and getting downhill in Game 5. In fact, here is Luka Doncic talking post-game about what he's dealing with, what he's playing through, and what he's utilizing in order to play as well as he did in Game 5. Take a listen.
How did you feel out there?
Well, pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Just trying not to think of the injury, the cold. Just trying to go out there and set the tone.
So, would you say you were playing on adrenaline?
Yeah, I mean it's playoffs. When you start the game in the playoffs, it's a different thing, and there's a lot of adrenaline, a lot of emotion. So you just keep going.
So Luka playing on adrenaline. He's continuing to battle through the illness and the knee injury as well. And he was able to really set a tone offensively, him and Kyrie Irving, especially in the first half, to really help the Mavericks find their footing and their rhythm on the offensive side. And it carried over throughout the course of the game, particularly in that third quarter, where the Mavericks outscored the Clippers to begin that third quarter 17-4. In the middle of that was a 14-0 run, and one of the signature plays of the game was Kyrie Irving stripping James Harden for a steal, taking it coast to coast, putting it behind his back, and finishing with the and one, drawing the foul on Norman Powell with the lefty finish. And that, to me, has been a hallmark of this series. The defense at which Luka Doncic has played at times, especially in Game 2, where he had arguably the best defensive game that we've ever seen from him. Kyrie Irving taking on the challenge on the defensive end. Yes, only had 14 points in the game, but he set the tone early on in the first quarter, getting the first bucket of the game, being the aggressor on the offensive end, but also doing the same on James Harden on the other end. Harden, of course, had a bunch of floaters in Game 4 to really help the Clippers be able to pull out that Game 4 victory after the Mavericks had that 31-point comeback. But Kyrie Irving took on the challenge And Harden, who has struggled with the floaters throughout the course of the year, hitting less than 30% on them, was terrible offensively in Game 5. When you look at his numbers, he went 2 of 12 overall and just 1 of 7 from the three-point line. That is due to the constant pressure that Derrick Jones Jr., Kyrie Irving, and others were putting on James Harden and also on Paul George, who finished just 4 of 13 from the field for his 15 points. It was a negative 16 in the game. So the Mavericks doing the job with not only their defense, but making enough shots, the 14 three-pointers that they made to keep the Clippers defense honest. And a huge, massive shout-out to two guys. Number one, Derrick Lively II, who continues to be spectacular when it comes to his rim protection. The Clippers so far in this series not shooting the ball well when it comes to things close at the rim, as the Dallas Mavericks rookie center is holding the Clippers to just 9 of 28 within 6 feet so far in this series. That is 31.4% lower than expected based on their field goal percentage, the largest differential of any player so far in the NBA playoffs, and just gives you indication on how well Lively has played throughout the course of this series. Those stats courtesy of NBA.com. And Lively finished a perfect 5 for 5 from the field, played 24 minutes. Him and Daniel Gafford combining for 43 minutes in Game 5. So you're having a constant presence in the middle on the floor between Lively and Gafford. And Lively was especially good when he finished with his 12 points, had 7 rebounds as well, and continues to provide that kind of rim protection close at the rim, deterring the Clippers from easy buckets. And also, Maxi Kleber. You got the Maxi Kleber game that you've been looking for a while. You remember the epic game that he had a couple of years ago against the Utah Jazz in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs, where, of course, it helped the Mavericks go on to the Western Conference Finals that year. Maxi showed up big time, especially in that second quarter, knocking down 4 three-pointers, scoring 12 points, and he was the catalyst for the Mavericks bench that outscored the Clippers in that game 52-42, and his ability to stretch the floor, which we constantly talk about here on Inside the Mavs or wherever you hear Mavericks basketball being talked about, Maxi Kleber showed up big and did so in the right time for his Mavericks team to help them steal Game 5, not steal, dominate Game 5 on the road. And what I'm calling the beatdown in Tinseltown, come back to Dallas with the momentum and an opportunity to win this series in 6 games. The Mavericks defense was fantastic in terms of pressure that they put on the Clippers, forcing 15 turnovers, scoring 21 points off those turnovers, getting out in transition with the 15 fast break points that they had, but also getting back to the vertical game. You saw plenty of times where there'd be pick and rolls with Luka Doncic and Derrick Lively, or Kyrie Irving being able to hit guys finishing at the rim in transition as well. This team was able to get up and down the floor, push the pace, and be able to run essentially the Clippers out of the gym in Game 5. And that has been the formula of success for this Mavericks team, especially during the second half of the year, turning up the defensive pressure, being able to keep teams in transition where they are able to be they've been a top 10 pace team all season long. The Mavericks put it all together in their best performance of this first round so far against the Clippers with the 123 points that they dropped. Hell, even Jaden Hardy had 14 points in 5 minutes in the fourth quarter to salt it away for the Mavericks. So again, just another terrific all-around performance. You got the defense that you were looking for. They made 14 three-pointers, forced 15 turnovers, scored 21 off of those turnovers. Luka Doncic was incredible with the 35 points that he had, battling through the knee injury and also the illness that he's dealing with. But the supporting cast setting the tone and making things happen for this Mavericks team to be able to take out Paul George, James Harden, and the Los Angeles Clippers. Despite the fact that they were out-rebounded, they kept it within that margin of error. They were out-rebounded by only 5, thanks to the fact that the Clippers had 14 offensive rebounds to the Mavericks 9 in Game 5, but they were able to keep it even on the defensive glass, which means that they're closing out possessions in terms of the Mavericks in a game where Dallas led by as many as 32 points against the Los Angeles Clippers. So now the Mavericks come home and they get ready to try and close out the Clippers in Game 6. That game will tip off at 8:30 p.m. at the American Airlines Center. I'll have our pregame show on the Dallas Mavericks Radio Network on 97.1 The Eagle beginning at 8 p.m. on Friday night. The Mavericks beat up on the Clippers 123-93 to be able to get the win and now have a chance to move on in the NBA playoffs. Appreciate you joining me here for Inside the Mavs here on YouTube. Again, I encourage you to please like and comment on the video. Subscribe to Inside the Mavs here on YouTube. You can download and subscribe to the Inside the Mavs podcast wherever you get your podcast for free. Give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. And you can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart Radio, and wherever you get your podcasts for free. And I appreciate you liking, commenting, and subscribing here on Inside the Mavs. My name is Kevin Gray, Dallas Mavericks pre- and post-game host on the Dallas Mavericks Radio Network. And you can find me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports. Until next time, we'll talk to you later. Peace.